Imagine losing your only child, and then, before you've even had time to grieve, being forced to raise her son, your grandson. That's exactly what happened to Mary, a 58-year-old grandmother whose life changed overnight. Before we dive in, if you believe in the power of real stories to heal and inspire, hit subscribe, because every week I share true stories that remind us we're never alone in our struggles. It's not easy being a mother, especially when you have to take on the role of raising your adult grandson. But for a 58-year-old woman, that's exactly what happened when her now 21-year-old grandson moved in with her after losing his mother. Her daughter had passed away unexpectedly, and her son, who had just turned 19 2 weeks prior, was left all alone. Her son was devastated. The only bright spot for him was that he didn't have to move out of state to go to college, since his mom had always told him that if anything ever happened to her, he should move in with his grandmother, Mary. So when it came time for him to find a place to live while attending college, he didn't have to look very far. But Mary soon found out that taking care of a grieving 19-year-old wasn't easy. At first, she tried to give him space, allowing him to stay in his room for days on end without saying a word. But as time went on, she began to worry. She knew she couldn't just let him sit around in his room all day, so she started making him get up and do things. She made him help around the house and even started driving him to work every morning. She was determined to make sure that he was okay. And it seemed to be working. He was getting up and out of the house every day, even going out with friends a couple of times a week. But she could still see the times when he got really depressed. Mary's brother, who's 51 and still lives at home, didn't understand why she was doing all this. He thought she should just let the kid be. "He'll get over it eventually," he would say. But Mary knew that wasn't true. She'd seen too many people pretend they were okay when they were really struggling. She had been in therapy for years and even been on medication for depression herself. She knew this was something that needed to be taken seriously. But even though she was trying to do everything right, she was still worried. One day, she found him sitting in his room on the floor with all the lights turned off. She knocked on the door and asked if he was okay. And he just yelled, "No, I'm not okay." That's when she knew she needed to do something drastic. She called his father, who was remarried and living in another state, and asked if he and his new wife could come and get him for a few days. She also reached out to her niece, who offered to come and stay with them so that she could keep an eye on him. All this was happening while Mary's brother was pressuring her to kick her grandson out of the house. He was tired of having someone else around, especially since he had no idea what he was going through. "He's not your responsibility, Mary. You need to let him go," he said. But Mary refused. She knew this was more than just her grandson being sad. There was something deeper going on, and she wasn't going to give up on him. As the months went by, Mary's grandson slowly started to get better. He began going out with his friends again and even started talking to girls. He began to seem like his old self again, and Mary was relieved, but she knew this was just the beginning. At one point during their family struggle, Mary's brother had actually been declared mentally unfit to stand trial after threatening a police officer. He'd been declared mentally ill and spent time in a psychiatric hospital. But even after all that, he still didn't realize he had mental issues. He continued to blame everyone else for his problems and refused to seek help. And so now, years later, here they were again. Just when Mary thought things were finally looking up, her brother was once again causing trouble. But she knew she couldn't give up now. She had to stay strong for her grandson, even though it meant she wouldn't be able to retire and move to Florida like she had always dreamed. Mary loved her brother, but she couldn't help but wonder if he would ever realize he needed help. And as the house grew quiet at night, Mary finally let herself feel her own pain. She had lost her only daughter, the child she once held in her arms, the little girl she had raised and loved with all her heart. Now she was raising her grandson, watching him struggle through the very grief that was tearing her apart too. There were nights she sat at the kitchen table alone, tears running down her face, whispering, "God, please help me, please help him, and please help me be strong enough to carry us both." Because behind her strength, behind her sacrifices, was a broken mother who would never stop missing her daughter. And yet, through her grandson's healing, she found her own reason to keep going. She realized that maybe this was her purpose now, to give him the love his mother could no longer give. And even though her heart ached, Mary held on tightly to the hope that one day her grandson would rise stronger than ever. And when that day comes, she'll know that all the pain, all the sacrifice, and all the nights she cried alone were not in vain. Because Mary wasn't just helping her grandson, she was also helping her brother. No, he still hasn't admitted he needs professional help, but because of her patience, he now knows how to cook his own meals. Because of her persistence, he's learned how to clean, how to manage the small things, how to be a little more responsible. And because of her love, he is at least navigating life, one day at a time. Mary may never get the peaceful retirement she dreamed of, but she knows in her heart that the impact she's making today will echo far beyond her own lifetime.